Good morning, boys and girls. So, we are going to continue with our reading streak. This is our last part of our chapter that we're working on. We know that we are reading the story called The Eye of the Storm. It's Chasing Storms with Warren Fadley. So we've been working on this for a couple of days now. By now you know that this type of reading that we're doing is an expository text, which means it's giving us information about real people and real events. We know that Warren is our main character that we're talking about. We have other characters that they brought into the story as well. Their names were Steve and Mike. Okay, we know we have those two, but Warren was definitely our main character. And we know that he lives out in Tucson, Arizona, and he is a storm chaser, and he loves to find tornadoes, big thunderstorms, or huge hurricanes, and take pictures for the public to see. And he sells it. Well, he actually sells it and makes money. So that's how he makes his living. So our story is surrounded by Hurricane Andrew. That's what we're mainly talking about here, and his experience that he had, which was pretty amazing. So we just found out that he is in the hurricane itself. He's staying in a concrete building that I showed you guys already, which is pretty safe if you had to be in a hurricane. And we know that the winds are blowing so hard that it sounds like a jet engine in the garage. So it's definitely a scary situation that they're in right now. So while we're reading, I want you guys to think about how weather affects our lives, how weather pattern affects our lives. By now, you should already know that Hurricane Andrew affected all the people who lived in Florida. Okay, obviously, it was causing destruction and damage to their homes and everything else around them. So this last part of the chapter is going to tell you exactly some things that Warren saw after the hurricane happened. So I want you guys to listen, and I'll show you some pictures as we go along. Okay, so finally around 6 o'clock, with the winds still howling, Warren saw the first faint of light of the new day, which probably made him feel really good. As the sky gradually turned a strange blue color, Steve, Mike, and Warren looked out on the scene of terrible destruction. Boats, broken boats, and parts of boats had been carried from the storm surge from the marina almost to the garage. A tree that had been torn from the ground during the night had smashed into the side of a parked truck. Although most of the buildings around the garage were still standing, many had been heavily damaged. So there was destruction everywhere they looked. When there was finally enough light for the camera, Warren headed outside. Leaning into the strong winds, he carefully made his way toward the marina. So it's still windy out there. It's still probably pretty dangerous, but he's determined to get these pictures. At times, gusts of wind knocked him to the ground. That's how strong it was. Wreckage from the boats and buildings still flying through the air. Warren took pictures of the wind bending trees near the marina and broken boats on the shore. So look at this picture, and I hope you can see it because it's pretty amazing. Okay, you guys see that? So look, you can see a person up to almost his knees in water. You see the palm trees, how you could see that it must be very windy. And then look at this. This is a road, and then you see a boat almost like in the road. Okay, that's what happens when it's that bad. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of the destruction that he was able to see. Warren continued walking along the beach, shooting more pictures as the sky turned light. After about an hour, the wind began to quiet and the rain became gentle. So obviously the hurricane was starting to fade off. Now, Warren began to wade carefully toward the marina, What do you guys think wade means? He's wading toward the marina. So wading means that he's probably up to here, probably up to his waist at least, with water because of the floods. And there he is with his camera, and he's trying to get these pictures. So you could say he's very persistent. So he began to wade carefully towards the marina, taking more pictures of the wreckage ahead of him. Other people were arriving to look at the damage and see if the boats had survived. And it's very sad, all these people coming down and seeing their boats destroyed, or not knowing where their boat is because the wind took it so far, or the ocean was so destructive. So he took pictures of that. After a tour of the marina, Warren went back to the beach. So this is what the beach looked like. Listen carefully. It was littered. Think of litter, think of garbage, okay? With boats, clothing, and dead fish. There was even a photo album opened to a wet page. More and more people arrived to see what remained of their homes. So people evacuated when this hurricane came. So now people are finally coming back in to see if their houses are still left there. So more and more people arrived to see what remained of their homes or boats. Warren finally returned to his motel, where he slept for 10 hours. Do you think he was exhausted? I think so. I don't think he slept the entire night. The next day, when he drove back to Miami airport, his camera bags were filled with rolls of exposed film, meaning he took lots and lots of pictures. His arms ached where the wind had slammed into a railing after he left the parking garage, because remember, it was still really windy. Still, as the airplane took off from Miami, it was hard for Warren to imagine that 2 nights earlier he had been watching, listening to, and photographing the destructive winds of Hurricane Andrew. So he couldn't believe it either. Here's some of his pictures. You can see some really good pictures there. So you could see that everything was just kind of destroyed in that first picture. There's just garbage and houses destroyed everywhere. If you look at this picture, you should be able to tell that there's some flooding there. Those houses are pretty much underwater. That's a street. You can see the car in the lower left-hand corner, that yellow car that's like underwater. It's very scary, very dangerous situation. So, needless to say, now we know hurricanes are definitely very dangerous. Warren Bailey's job is dangerous of what he does, but he loves it. So what do you think? Would you want to be a storm chaser? So when you answer your question later on my exit ticket that I've made for you, I want you to give me some details, why or why not. If you don't want to be a storm chaser, I want you to tell me exactly why you want to be. But if you would like to be, I want you to tell me what part of it you think is exciting, because some of you might really like it. All right, well, that's it for now. Our next lesson, we'll be talking about vocabulary and focusing on that, and then we are going to have a little quiz on when we are all finished with this chapter. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.